Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining for today's session. So, in today's session, we'll be looking at a new topic. Okay, the name of the topic is critical reasoning. Okay, and I'll be giving you, trying to explain on what is critical reasoning, and then this would be specifically done, from the basics, from the fundamentals. So once I do that, then I'll try to show you some basic questions related to critical reasoning. We'll try to solve it on the screen, and after that, you'll be able to do it on your own. And I'm going to train you in such a way that you try to understand the complete concept that is involved in critical reasoning, and slowly, it's like you can prepare for any kind of competitive exams. So it's not just in the GMAT. It's a common topic for many competitive exams, and sometimes even in placements you have critical reasoning. Okay, so first we'll start with the definition. So as far as critical reasoning is concerned, the name tells you, uh, you know like um, if something is critical, it means it is important, right? If something is critical, it means it's very important, right? And you look at a person, and you refer to his health, and you say he is critical, so it means that he is not well. Okay, his condition is not stable, he is abnormal. That is what we mean, right? So similarly, if you look at a situation or an environment and say it seems to be very critical here, it means that the atmosphere or the environment is not a perfect place to lead a normal life. So something is really serious out there, something is threatening. It could be anything. Okay, so basically it's not normal. That's what we have to understand from the term critical. So critical can be interpreted as something important, or something which is kind of very kind of, it's a warning, kind of warning, or there is a threatening situation. Or if you look at a person and say he's critical, then we specifically talk about his health. Okay, so this is what you have to understand from the term critical. Okay, and reasoning, as you all know, is connected with reason. Okay, reason means to find out which is the right thing to do, right? So when we talk about reasoning, it is more connected to criticism. No, you look at something, you try to criticize, you try to evaluate the importance of a particular thing, right? Or you look at somebody and you try to reason out why somebody is behaving like this, or why somebody is talking like this, or why did someone say such a thing. Okay, so we in terms of analysis, in terms of interpreting information, in terms of evaluating a person or a thing, it could be literally anything. Okay, so in terms of evaluation, we normally say it's reasoning, because just opposite to what we call as dogma. Dogma is a belief. You believe it. Okay, because people earlier to you believed in that thing, and no, it continues no, through the tradition. This continues, and dogma is something like you believe in God, you believe in literally, like you believe in certain rituals, because your ancestor would have done it, and you are following the same thing. Now reasoning is something opposite to dogma. Now here we are talking about, you want to reason it and find out, what is the truth, because you won't accept something without evaluating what it is. And in terms of solving a text, or in terms of looking at an exam, we have to evaluate a given text material, because we have to understand what the author is trying to say. See, when we talk about text material, it's we are actually introduced to the author's perspective. No, we are reading the author's feelings and his way of looking at things. So here what you have to do is, like, you have to understand the author's mindset. You have to evaluate what he's trying to say, and then you have to make sure that you completely understand what he wants to say. And it's not about your perspective at all. Now this is not an essay. Okay, please understand, this is not an essay, or this is not any other any other concept where you have to tell about what you want to say, right? It's not a research, right? You don't come out with your perspective, right? In critical reasoning, what you do is you try to understand the author's opinion or viewpoint, and then you try to interpret it from the author's point of view, right? So you're not supposed to include your thoughts there, your perspectives there. So this is one thing that you have to understand about critical reasoning. Okay, so we have to critically analyze certain things in our life, because no, unless we do it, we don't understand something properly, right? We may miss out something, and certain times in life, no, critical reasoning or critical evaluation helps us a lot in understanding, no, understanding, and then no, acting in the right manner. So, so critical evaluation doesn't stop with the textbook alone. It is also useful for our life, right? Say another way, we call it as like a book review or a movie review. It's basically like you evaluate a movie or evaluate a person, and then you write about him or her something, or you write about a book review. You write a book review and you read a book and you feel what you want to write. So basically it is an analysis. What you're doing is a kind of analysis, and then you are trying to say like what was good with the book or what was bad with the book. Like you are trying to bring out the best and the worst, right? So it's like critical reasoning. In the same way, it works in the same way, but then you're not supposed to put your perspective there. Instead, you would be evaluating it from the author's perspective. So this is what is called as critical reasoning. Okay, now see, if you look at the screen, I have one sample passage which I want to solve. Okay, do it right now. This specific format is no is part of GMAT examination, so you can have such questions there. But this is very basic. There are different types of questions in critical reasoning that we'll see later. But as of now, you just have to understand the fundamentals. So to understand the fundamentals clearly, what you have to do is you have to follow me when I read this passage, and try to follow what I'm trying to explain, right? So if you look at this passage, you see the expansion of the runways at the Bay City airport will allow larger planes to use the airport, right? These new planes will create a large amount of noise, a nuisance for residents who live near the airport. However, many of the residents in this neighborhood work in construction, and the contract to expand the runways has been awarded to a local construction company. Thus, the expansion of the runways will lead to an increased quality of life for the residents of this neighborhood. Now, what we understand from this passage is that we are talking about a project which tries to expand a particular airport. Okay, it's called as the Bay City Airport. So we are trying to expand the runways of the airport so that larger planes can accommodate in the airport. Okay, so if we want to proceed with this, then no, it's a kind of it's a kind of contract. Okay, so basically what happens is that you want to do something with the highway or with the like airport or with the railway station. The contract needs to be got from the government, and then that's how local companies get involved in such big projects, and they do. Now here what we understand is like the project has been already given to the a local construction company near the airport, and no, we try to assume that a lot of people from in and around the residential area will be working in that contract, because many of them who are staying near to that airport are working in the local construction. And then what you have to understand is, this expansion would try to provide increase in quality, of the lives of people who are there. Okay. Now, if you look at this passage, this is a very easy passage, and now it's time for us to start evaluating. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, first I'm going to look at the first sentence. I have to split each sentences into different, I have to segregate them so that I understand the concept very easily. Now, in the first sentence, the author is trying to talk about the expansion of the runways. Now that's an opening sentence. Okay. If the author has not introduced this sentence, we would not understand what this passage is talking about. Right. So the first important thing is to understand what this passage is about. You can call it as an opening, or you can call it as an introduction. Okay. So here we are introduced to an airport called as Bay City Airport, right? And then he talks about the expansion of the runways there. No, that's the opening sentence. Okay, from the expansion to the airport. Now that is the opening sentence, or the introduction sentence, right? And the following sentence: these new planes will create a large amount of noise, a nuisance for residents who live near the airport. Now, if you look at the second sentence, it's quite opposite in nature to the first sentence, because the first sentence seems to be very positive. Now, whenever we talk about expansion of something, okay, expansion of a campus, or expansion of like a common place, we mean that it's going to expand, and there is going to be a lot of facilities coming up there, and it's going to help people, and whoever is involved in that pocket, I mean, in that project. And then you also have businesses coming up. Okay. And these are certain things which are very positive, in the first sentence. But when you read the second sentence, what happens is that you try to get into a negative perspective. Here, the author introduces something negative. He says, in case the airport is getting expanded, I mean, the runways are getting expanded, what happens is larger planes will come. Big planes will be part of that airport. And, when we talk about very big planes, it's going to produce a lot of noise, right? So this noise pollution, it's going to disturb the people who are living near to the airport. Okay. So here the author looks at this point from a negative stand, right? So first it was positive, and then it is negative now. Now let's read the third sentence. Okay. However, you please note the introduction of this like word however. Many of the residents in this neighborhood work in construction. Okay. And the contract to expand the runways has been awarded to a local construction company. Now from this we understand that though there is going to be noise pollution from this expansion, it's going to like help a lot of residents who are living near the airport to get work, because the project has been awarded to the local construction company, and because of that, people who are working in the local construction company, and whoever is working there, they're going to get work, they're going to get job. Now see how the author shifts from the negative stand to the positive stand again. Okay, so we saw positive, negative, and then again positive. Now, if you look at the last sentence, okay, thus the expansion of the runways will lead to an increased quality of life for the residents of this neighborhood. Now, because of this reason, because of which reason? Because of the project being allotted or assigned to the local construction company, and because of that, lives of people is going to change, and because of that, there is going to be an increased quality of life for the residents of this neighborhood. Now, from this statement, we understand that the author concludes by saying, now this is something that we are not supposed to miss, right? So this project is very important because it's going to change the lives of people. Now, even though it is going to affect people, because of noise pollution, I think more important than that is it's going to change the lives of people. Now, the conclusion completely, the supports the idea of the expanding the runways of that Bay City airport. So what we have to understand is the author takes a stand that this project should be welcomed. It's very important and it's going to change the lives of people, so we should support it, right? So that's the final stand that the author takes as far as this concept is considered. Now here I would want to elaborate on the terms which are very important in critical reasoning. Okay, so please note down these terms, and like if you're following, you don't have to worry. I would be sending this material to you. If you can leave your email IDs on the comment section, I would be happy to share this material with you. It's from a book, so you will have it completely, so not an issue. But then you just have to leave your email address in the comment section so I can send it to you, right? So that's one thing that I want you to do. And now see, I'm going to introduce certain terms which are very much important in critical reasoning. Okay, so the first term is argument. So when we say argument, it means the most important idea that the author is trying to convey. There is an argument there, okay, and the author is trying to either convince the readers, okay, to accept the argument, or he is going to uh, persuade persuade the readers to not accept it by saying, by treating it negatively. So there is argument. Now here, if you look at the expansion of the runways at the Bay City Airport. Now we are talking about an argument which is basically concerned about expansion of the runways in a particular airport. Now, which airport, we are very clear because it's written there as Bay City Airport. So everything seems to be very clear. And now, this, if you are considering as an argument, or if you are considering as like an opening sentence, you are very clear with the question now. Now the problem is, does the author support the argument, or is it kind of opposing the argument? This is the stand that the reader should understand, and you have to think from the author's perspective. You cannot put your thoughts there. You have to deliberately solve it with the information that you infer from the text. That's more important. Now, as soon as we see the second point, we feel that the author is again pitching something on the negative side. Okay, it's like it's, and I can give you another example for it. It's like I say, like mobile phones and internet are really awesome technology. They are very helpful, and in case you want to learn or improve your knowledge, you can depend on smartphones or you can depend on internet. I'm supporting it. And then if I tell a point, but then the same internet or mobile phone can be used in a very negative way. It spoils people. For example, you look at games, or you look at some unwanted things, unwanted stuffs. So what happens is that you're spoiling yourself, right? So like the author, if he talks about mobile phone and technology, he can maybe leave the conclusion to the readers. He could say, like, whatever it is, it all depends on how we use it. Now, if I leave you with such a statement, it means that I have taken a neutral stand, right? I'm not very particular about the conclusion. I'm leaving it to you. This is the same way that you have to try to understand this one. Now, but then here the author is very clear about what he wants to say. He supports the expansion of the airport. So this one, these new planes, this particular sentence, like these new planes will create a large amount of noise, a nuisance for residents who live near the airport, is a negative point. Okay, because he expresses something which is negative, and you have to name it as counterpromise. It's called as counterpromise. Counter means the opposite, right? Counterpromise. Promise is nothing but the something which supports the main idea. The main idea here is expanding the airport, and if we expand the airport, there is going to be noise pollution, coming up, and it's going to disturb the people who are living near to the airport. Now this is an idea which speaks against the main idea. Noise pollution is against the the concept of expanding the airport. Now that's the reason why we are calling it as counter premise. Okay, now let's go to the next sentence. However, many of the residents in this neighborhood work in construction, and the contract to expand this construction is awarded to the local construction company. You know, and this particular point, and no, besides this, that this construction company is going to give a lot of work, okay, to the people who are nearby, or people who are working in the construction company. Now the complete sentence is very positive, right? So once you learn that, people are going to get work, and their family is going to enjoy all the benefits out of the work, and the quality of lives are going to increase. Now all these things are positive, right? So this particular statement is, you know the premise. Premise means something which supports the main idea. Now, no, awarding the job, awarding the job for all the people, okay, is going to improve the lives. Now when I say improve the lives, that's the conclusion, right? Because we try to award the jobs to the workers, and because of that, the lives of people is going to increase. Okay, I hope it is very clear. So we understand that the final statement or the conclusion that the author tries to make is, if the project is being awarded to the local construction company, and those who are working in the construction company will be able to work and improve their lives. Now improving their lives, so that's the conclusion. Now that's the conclusion statement. So we have seen four things here. One is the opening or the introduction. The second one, you have to just remember there are four things. One is the opening or the introduction. The second one is premise. Premise is something that supports the main idea, okay? And counter premise is something which speaks opposite to the main idea. Now in this sentence, it's about noise pollution. That is the counter premise. And the premise is, yes, we have to, support the expansion of the airport, because a lot of people are going to get work from it. So that is the premise. And the concluding part is, if a lot of people are getting work, the quality of their lives are going to improve. Now that's the conclusion. Now these are the four things that are considered very important in solving a critical reasoning. And similarly, you can there is also one more thing. It's called as claim. Claim is something like what should I say? It's something like, you try to claim, okay, this is important, but then you need to have some proof to to evidently prove that it is important. For example, I'm saying, now Ramesh is an intelligent person. I'm looking at Ramesh, or I'm looking at somebody and saying, no, Ramesh is very good person and he's very intelligent. Now this is a claim, okay? It's not a fact. It's not a fact, okay? It's a claim. So if I want to prove that Ramesh is intelligent, I have to quote something. I have to tell about something he does, or I have to show you, some kind of extraordinary achievement that Ramesh has done to make you prove that Ramesh is really intelligent. Now, one is a claim, and the other one is the premise. Premise is something which supports the claim. Okay. Now, it could be a claim, or it could be a kind of like this. Okay, a fact. Okay. Now, if I say the sun rises in the east, now, no, this is for an example. If I say the sun rises in the east, now it's something. It's a universal truth, and you would believe it, because that has been the case. The sun rises in the east, and you don't have to question it because you see it. If I say fire will burn you, you won't question me. It's not a claim. You understand? It's not a claim. It's rather a fact. It's truth. Okay, it's universal truth. Now fire is going to burn you. Yeah, it's going to burn you. You don't test it. You don't have to test it. But a claim should be tested. Okay, anybody can claim anything, right? I can call myself as a very good person. Okay, but how do one trust me? So it's like that. It works like that. So this is what is called as critical evaluation, right? So you have to understand and remember all these terms. Yeah, I hope I've done with this passage elaborately. Now let us move into certain questions here. If you look at this document, you see now what is this author actually arguing? Now we all know, no, he's talking about the expansion of the airport, and he wants to find out whether expanding the airport is going to be useful or not, whether it's a positive thing or negative thing. That's it, right? What are the pieces of the argument? Now you know what are the pieces of the argument. The pieces of the argument here are, one is the noise pollution, and one is the local people getting this work, and because of that the lives of the people are going to increase. Now all these things are different kinds of pieces that we have to combine, and then we have to derive a meaning. Okay, yeah, how do they? That's what is called as, you combine them and try to come out with a beautiful meaning, and then you locate the author's stand, whether he is positive or whether he is negative, whether he is supporting the expansion of the airport or is he not supporting the expansion of the airport. Now this is how you would be solving it, right? Now that's the same thing which is explained here. You don't have to read it, you just have to look at the words which are in bold. Now look at premise. Premise means an information that supports a claim or a conclusion. A premise can literally see, if it's supporting an opening, it should also support the conclusion, right? It won't change, right? So that's how it is. So it either supports a claim and also supports a conclusion, right? So it can be a fact or an opinion. A premise can generally be either a fact or an opinion, right? Okay, now the next thing is conclusion. Now conclusion is the ultimate, right? You read all things, you read different opinions, you read different points, and then you combine everything and then come to a conclusion. And this conclusion is, please note, it's not your conclusion, it is the author's perspective. So unless you understand what the author is trying to convey, your efforts in finding the conclusion can go waste. Okay, so right from the beginning, read it from the author's mindset. Okay, only then you will be able to understand the perfect conclusion, right? And then background information. Now background information is very much essential, because if I don't talk about the Bay City airport, or if I have never mentioned a term called airport, I'm simply talking about runaway, you wouldn't it wouldn't be clear which airport I'm talking about, or which runway I'm talking about, which city it is. Nothing would be very clear. So background information is a must, and it need not be very big. It can be as simple as two sentences, as we saw in the previous passage, right? So a small introduction about what this passage is about, okay, or what is it talking about. Now that is essential. So that is it's called as background information, right? Because that lets us into a particular situation or an environment. From there we'll be able to understand the whole passage properly, right? And then like counterpoint and counterpromise, or like counterpoint or counterpromise is basically the positive or the negative idea. Now in this passage the author is talking about supporting the runaways, okay, expansion of runaways. Now that's a positive thing, and the counterpoint is talking about the negative aspect of expanding the airport, that is the noise pollution. Now this is positive, the main idea is positive, so the counterpoint remains negative. Now when the main idea is negative, for example, if I'm talking about, see, as I told you, like mobile technology or internet, I'm completely in my passage I'm telling that I'm not supporting mobile technology because it's spoiling youngsters lives. If I say that, okay, if I say that, Now I'm an author who's completely negative about the evolving technologies, right? I don't see it as a positive sign. So my whole passage is negative. You understand? In that case, your counterpromise or counterpoint would be the opposite. I mean, would be the positive. If I say, no matter, like however, no whatsoever problems are there associated with, technology, if you can use it properly, then I think like technology is a boon for us. If I produce such a point, then it means that this one, like if you can use technology in the proper way, that changes into counterpromise or counterpoint. Okay, so it depends on what stand the author is taking, right? And then we have this conclusion. Now conclusion is, you combine all the ideas, you evaluate right and wrong, and then you finally try to find out what the author is trying to say. Okay, what's his viewpoint. Now that is the same I mean like conclusion. Okay, now all of these things together, it's called as building blocks. Now you could see that here, it's been given here. Now all these things together, it's called as building blocks. Is it clear? Right. So now see, the same thing which we have done till now has been given in this tabular column, right? So what they have done is they have written the argument on the left side, and then the readers. Readers are very important because readers are people who are interpreting what is written. Okay, so interpreters, we can call you as interpreters. Now if I read this point, what do I feel? That's written on the right side. So for every point, it's been separated, and on the right side you will see, now when you read this particular point, what do you feel, and when you read this point, what you feel. Now that has been given here, right? So this is a kind of strategy for working. If you can take a passage, you can create a table, and you can start doing it. Okay, no matter if you make mistakes, but then you can refer whether your table and this table is kind of similar or not. You can find it out, right? So this activity can help you improve your ability to analytically try to find information from a text. Okay, that's what you can do. And yeah, this one way. And there is another easy way. Now if you look at this particular paragraph, you see that there is a like passage. The same passage has been given, and they have like sentence wise they have marked which is the counterpoint, which is the background, which is the premise, and which is the conclusion. They have done that in a beautiful way, right? So uh, this kind of split up will help you to understand a particular passage very, very clearly. And you can do the same kind of thing with an essay also, because see, essay is almost similar to this passage, because in the the essays have no, it has introduction, and then the author is going to introduce about something in the first two paragraphs, and then slowly moves to the argument. That's the body of the essay, where he talks about the most important things in a elaborate manner, and then slowly is going to give you some examples, or like counterpoints or counterpromise or promises, and then finally is going to conclude. Now the same way, you can do it for that also, right? And so this is one way in which you can clearly understand what is being said. Okay, yeah. So now the same things are explained here. So it's not like if I elaborate on this, it could be kind of repetitive. So you see, things given here are premise, conclusion, background, and counterpoint, right? Or counterpromise. Okay, this is called as the agreement structure. Now, what you have to do is, I'll tell you, if if you look at yeah, before that, I would like to explain you another thing. This is just for your understanding. Okay. Now here we see a small conversation between Sam and Mary. Okay, it's a small conversation. You see how perspectives change here, right? The same context, but you see like how we can change the perspectives. Okay. Now Sam asks, like his friend, "Can I borrow your car?" Now Sam asks his friend, "Can I borrow your car?" And Mary says, "Even though you don't have a driver's license." Now, when you look at this particular sentence, like even though you don't have a driver's license, no, it means that Mary is still ready to give him the car, knowing that he does not have a driver's license, because she wants to help him, right? Maybe because he is her close friend. So it's like she knows that he doesn't have a license, but still she wants to help him. Okay, so that's the context that we understand from the first two sentences. And the same conversation, you come down and see, like Sam says, "Can I borrow your car?" And Mary says, "I like you, Sam. However, you don't have a driver's license." So now here you see that how beautifully she rejects his request. She says, "Sam, I like you, okay, but I can't help you right now because you don't have a driver's license. And if I give you the car, it could land up in some problem, right? So I don't want to take risk." Now, instead of saying so elaborately, she beautifully says, "I like you, Sam. However, you don't have a driver's license. So I think you have to understand," right? So you see how politely she's trying to refuse or deny his request. Now, these are certain points which you have to focus on text, so that you try to infer the right context or the right sense or the right meaning. Okay, now that's very important. Now that's the reason why I'm showing you this one. Okay, now let's solve one more passage. With that, I think we'll wind up. So then you will I'll show you some questions, like how you will get some questions. Okay, so you will get an understanding of how you're going to come across some questions. Now, see, the owner of a small publishing company plans to lease a new office space that has floor to ceiling windows and no internal walls, arguing that the new space will enhance worker productivity. The owner cites a recent study showing that workers exposed to natural light throughout the day tended to report, on average, a higher level of job satisfaction than did those who worked in office spaces that used fluorescent lighting. Thus, the owner concluded exposure to natural light has a positive effect on workers' job satisfaction. Now, this passage is about the owner of a publishing company, and he's having a thought that like large windows and transparent workplaces. You don't it's not like cabin like structures in the workplace. Just leaving like open table. That kind of atmosphere is boosting workers' productivity, right? And this large windows, they bring in so much of natural light. So he's talking about sunlight. It's bringing so much of natural light inside the rooms. So people feel very comfortable to work in that atmosphere, rather than having a dull and gloomy, or like not a natural light. Okay, maybe like a fluorescent lighting. Okay, like like tube light or any other lights. It's not going to work out properly, according to this owner of the publishing company. Because he has done a small study. He has studied it in a research, that these things, if done in the natural manner, could really boost workers' productivity. Okay, now the same concept which I told you in the first passage. Now they are creating a table, and they are writing the argument on the left side, and they are writing the interpretation of the readers on the right side. You can do the same if you want, or as I told you, you can take the passage and you can split up, and then you can mention which is the opening, which is the background, which is the counterpoint, which is the premise, and which is the conclusion. You can do that as well, right? So we'll do it now. See, I'll let you know like sentence by sentence, so that you will get an idea. The owner of a small publishing company plans to lease a new office space that has floor to ceiling windows and no internal walls, arguing that the new space will enhance worker productivity. if you look at this, we try to understand that it is both an opening. It looks like an opening, and then no, there is a claim that there is also a claim. Like it argues that big window lighting and no internal walls. Okay, no cabin separations or something like that is going to boost product. I mean the productivity of workers. Now it's a kind of claim. Okay, it's a kind of claim there. Now to prove this claim, he is referring to a kind of research work, a recent study. See, that's why that is what is following. The owner cites a recent study showing that workers exposed to natural light throughout the day tended to report on average a higher level of job satisfaction than did those who worked in office spaces that used fluorescent lighting. Now he has come across a study where people a small research, and they have proved that natural lighting and no walls in the workplace tries to improve the productivity of the workers when compared to those who are not working in such environment. Now this is a result of a study. So this is an evidence for him, okay, for the author. I mean, for the person, the owner of the publishing. The author says that he is giving an evidence. No, this is premise. Because this premise support, okay, and the claim also looks like a premise because it claims something. It says that you do this, you get this, right? So it's kind of premise. Fine. Now this is the evidence, and I told you premise means something, a statement or an example or an evidence which supports the main theme of the passage. Okay, fine. Now, thus the owner concluded exposure to natural light has a positive effect on workers' job satisfaction. This is the result or the conclusion. Now, whenever we use words like thus, consequently, as a result, in the end, now all these are words which, gives us a signal or a clue that the conclusion is nearing. Okay, so here we are trying to conclude. I mean, the author is trying to conclude that exposure to natural light is going to help workers improve their productivity. Now, this is the ultimate result that we are getting out of this, passage. Now, this is the conclusion. Now, if you just look at these things, the table, you will get to understand. The owner of a small publishing company plans to lease. Now, this statement looks like a background information because it introduces a plan, okay, to do something, but no actual claim yet. The argument is probably or a result. Now, basically, it's a plan. Fine. Now, what we understand is we are talking about a plan, and if it works out, it's going to become a concept, or it's going to become something practical, right? So it's more of a background information, and it's more of a claim. Okay, it's more of a claim because if it works out, it becomes a claim, right? Arguing that the new space will enhance worker productivity. Now this is an argument, and here you see this might be the conclusion because it describes the predicted future benefit of the company's plan. Now again, here they are just giving you the interpretation. They are not finalizing it. They are only kind of like expecting that this point should be something like this. They are not giving you the perfect answer here, okay? Because it's the reader's interpretation. Now every reader can think about it in a different way. Now anyway, this like increase in workers' productivity is the end result. Okay, if all these things happen, this is going to happen. So that's the end result. So that's what you have to understand. Okay, that is conclusion, right? It looks like a conclusion. Then the owner cites a recent study. When the owner cites a recent study, it's a premise because it's something which supports the main argument, right? So it's a premise, and thus the owner concluded exposure to natural light has a positive effect on workers' job satisfaction is the ultimate conclusion. Okay, this appears to be the conclusion as well. It uses the word thus. It represents an explanation of the study's result, and the author comes to a conclusion that if there are no transparent walls and natural lighting, it's definitely going to improve the workers' productivity. Now that's how the text ends, and we are left with the information that if there are no walls and if there are natural lighting, workers could enjoy much productivity. That's what we understand. Okay. Okay. Now, yeah, I think these two examples are sufficient. Now I'll let you know like what type of questions you would be getting. You would be wondering by now like this is how am I supposed to answer critical reasoning questions. No, this is not the way you're supposed to answer. This is only to make you critically analyze a text or a passage. Now the four things that I told you: premise, counter premise, opening, and conclusion, they are building blocks. Okay, they are segments in a passage. Okay, or in a critical reasoning passage. Okay, you have the information that you have to look for, but then the questions would be really different. Now I'll show you the questions now. There are a lot of things in this material, but then see, there are a lot of problems also. If you are really interested, I'll be very happy to share this material to you so you can practice. Okay, so the problem sets are exercises similar to the passages which we solved. Here you're supposed to find out the premise, counter premise, conclusion, opening, and the same thing that we have done. You have to find out for these questions. So if you want, you can please drop your mail ID in the comment section. I would be happy to share this material with you, and the solution is given as well, so you can test yourselves, like to locate your skills. Now I'll show you the questions. I want to show you some questions. As I told you, there are different ways in which you can solve, and yeah, so I'm going to show you this. I'm not going to explain you this. You have to find it out on your own. In case you have doubts, you can get back to me on the comments section. I would be happy to help you, right? But then I'll just give you an idea about like how you can do it, right? If you look at this particular problem, you see it's about tuition. Now, recently, the tuition at most allied private colleges has been rising faster than inflation. Even before these increases, many low and middle income families were unable to afford the full tuition costs for their children at these institutions of higher learning. With the new tuition increases, these colleges will soon cater solely to students with affluent family backgrounds. Now, this is the complete passage that we are given. Now, it's your duty to find out which is the, which is the opening statement, which is the background, which is the counter premise, which is the premise, and which is the conclusion. Once you do that, then you can go to the question. Now you have to just understand the question. Which of the following would it be most useful to determine in order to evaluate the argument? Now you need to find out which is the argument first, and then you need to know which point in this like five options is more useful in terms of determining the argument or evaluating the argument. So it's like the way I should say that you have to find out which particular point supports the argument. Now this is how critical reasoning questions are given to us for solving. Now if you look at this, there is a passage about charity, and the question asked is which of the following best explains why the consultant's reasoning is flawed. Now here we are talking about consultants who are predicting something, who are claiming something, and like something some that is like one point in this particular option is showing that the consultant's way of looking at it is wrong. You have to find out which point it is, right? So this is a way in which you have to solve. Now here we have about cost mark. Now, which of the following questions would be most useful for evaluating the conclusion of the editorial? Now here this point, the point that you're looking for should support the conclusion. Okay, so that's the way you have to search. You see, it's not easy, I'm telling you again, if your students preparing for competitive exams or for banking or for placements, whatever it is, you have all the chances to get critical reasoning questions, right? And specifically for exams like GMAT, SAT, you would be having it. So if you want to score well, if you don't want to lose any marks, it's very important that you try to solve as many questions as possible, because like it's not very easy to locate the right answer. And when you have negative marks, then you should take care that you don't answer it wrongly. So sufficient practice is must. So you have to solve a lot of questions. And if you want help, then I would be able to give you as much as materials as possible from my side. And you have to interact with me for that, right? So if you don't introduce yourself to me, then I would have no idea like how to contact you. So try doing that. Similarly, in critical reasoning questions, you can get question. What do you feel about the tone of the passage? Now, how do you look at the author's conclusion? Now, do you think the author's standpoint is correct? Now, these are certain questions that they might ask you. And you see like this. In evaluating the recommendation to increase the use of ethanol, it would be important to research all of the following except what? Except which point? Now that means that four of this is going to be very close to the passage, and one would differ. One point would literally differ. You have to find out which one is that. Similar questions like that, and they've given the solution also to make it easier for you. So there are, I believe there are like say like 100 or 200 questions in this material, along with the solutions. So no, it's like you can do a very good self reading from this material. So I think like I have done with critical reasoning. If you have any doubts, or if you want to solve any specific questions, you can you be free to connect with me on WhatsApp or on the comment section of my channel. So if you like the session, and if you want to be connected with our sessions, like, you have to subscribe to our channel. I hope this session and whatever I am doing is helping you all. Thank you so much for joining today, and I hope like you would continue to study well and try to do your best, and you would follow whatever I'm trying to say. And you can also refer to several